bull always wins. Because there's no real reason to put yourself on the back of a bull. And that just might be the best reason to do it.
Wrangler. I can taste my beer. I can taste my beer.
I can taste my beer.
Just waiting for some people to show up. So we start this off. Let's get some people from here. And all right, anyone here? Get into that live chat. Let me know. I see there's a few of you. All right, guys. Let me know you're here. Everyone check in. See, there's only 3 of you here so far. Check in if you can. Once we get some more people in, we'll start it up. I'm sure you guys probably know some of the people who are in and out already. If I'm not just seeing the chat here. All right, so we're gonna go with what I've seen so far. Of course, you guys know AB is in. I've already heard he's going to be a big part of the offense in the early part. I think that game is just going to end up being a running game. I see them airing it out early, and then Sony Michel and Burkhead, maybe some White here and there at the end. That's going to be over really quick. We all saw, or probably most of us have seen already, Mixon's going to be in. But I'm hearing that Bernard is also going to get some touches here. Any of you guys going to be playing Mixon? I sure am not. I don't even know if I'm going to have any Bernard. Ingram's in, which that bodes well for Jackson. I still think Jackson gets some more runs in this week. I don't think he's going. Last week I think he only had 3. I think he gets a lot more this week. I think Jackson could be in for about 50 yards on the ground for himself this week. Hollywood Brown's going to play, but I wouldn't play him. He was only a part of 8 snaps last week, and he made the most of all those 8 snaps with the big game he had. And Mike Williams is in. But from what I hear, he's only going to be used mostly in the red zone. Again, probably a guy I wouldn't use. I was thinking about using some Travis Benjamin, but that's not even going to be a play for me either. So let's take a look. Anything else coming down? Let's see. They're saying he's active. He will suit up. I don't know. I think AB is going to have a touchdown, but as far as that, I don't think he's going to do much else. You guys can chat here and let me know what you think. Anything you guys want to talk about, unless I'm just not seeing the chat coming up. Let's see if anything else. Any other news? Not seeing anything just yet. Hey, what's going on there? Who's your daddy? So what are you thinking about this slate? What are you on to? What's your plays of the day? What's your one guy that you're keen on? I think for me it's going to be a quarterback. It's definitely going to be Mahomes. I saw a stat that in his first 18 games, he has 11 300-yard passing games. And the record is 12 in his first 20, and that's Kurt Warner. So he's got 2 games to get that, and I think he's going to get that with no problem. I don't see Oakland stopping him today from getting that 300 yards. I don't think there's any way that they're going to be stopping him, even without Hill there. I think Mahomes gets his today. Another 320, 3-touchdown game. That seems to be the normal for Pat Mahomes at this point. That Oakland defense, to me, they're scarier up front, stopping the run than they are actually. Yeah, I can't. I don't blame you there. I've done some lines on Thursday, but my problem is I always look at those lines and I can make it better, and it just seems to be worth keeping the lines as soon as you make them. I try to do most of my lines Friday night or Saturday night, This way, when I wake up, I can just set my lines and I'm done. Let's take a look what else is. I got Mahomes. I think he's going to be highly owned, especially against that Oakland defense. Lamar Jackson. I actually had some Kyler Murray and some Cardinals going into today, and I pretty much changed all that. I took all the Kyler Murray and all the Fitz and Kirk I had out after hearing about what this Baltimore defense up front is going to be doing. So I'm not on any Cardinals today. I think it's a trap to think that Kyler Murray can do what he did last week against this defense. In cash, if you don't go Mahomes, you're going to go to Jackson instead, or probably Brady. But after New England gets up by 30 or 40, which they probably could do in the second quarter, I don't know how much Brady's going to be passing the ball. I think it's all going to be those Goff. Yeah, I think Goff's going to have a pretty sneaky game. Like I said in my review yesterday, that's going to be a shootout. You're looking at possibly, up to 80 points. The experts are predicting 55, 60 points. But who knows with these two offenses? It could just be a shootout. It could be one big play after another. I see a lot of people are discounting Gurley. Report came out this morning that Brown is going to still take the goal line carries away from Gurley. I don't know how much I believe that. That's right. I love Gurley too. Gurley's my guy this week. I have him in plenty of lineups. I think last week was what they originally said was it was a preseason game for him. That's what they were treating it as. I completely believe that. I'd like Gurley to go for 2 touchdowns today. It could, he could get 3. Do I MME? I have in the past. But I hand build everything. So if I'm going to MME, it's only going to be like a 10, 20 max. I have done 150 max hand built line in MLB, which took me hours to do. So I don't like doing that. But I'm more of a, I'm more of a 10, 20 line guy. That's why I really like Yahoo. Yahoo's 10 max on everything. And it keeps the pros or, whatever you want to call those guys away. Yeah, Malcolm Brown, you got to really temper your expectations with him. If he does get goal line carries this week, then, going forward, you got to cut back on Gurley. But I believe this is going to be the game to see what the Rams' plans are for Gurley this year. If we don't see Malcolm Brown much, maybe where you're going to see Malcolm Brown the most, I believe, in this game is going to be mid-second quarter and some of the third quarter, and then they're going to save Gurley for the end of the third and all the fourth, almost like they did last week. You didn't see Malcolm Brown for 1 snap in the fourth quarter last week. So I believe that's kind of the way they're going to go this week too. They'll play Gurley early, let him get his runs in early, rest him for mid-second until mid-third, which kind of, if you think of it, sounds like what they would do in basketball. The starters come in, play their first 5-6 minutes, subs come in, and then the starters come back in a little bit later, get that after that rest. So it's kind of like something like that. I see Gurley definitely doing something like that, and if that's the case, in that fourth quarter when he's fresh, who knows what he can do. Those defenders are going to be winded and not as fresh as him. Just run by everyone, run over everyone too. And don't forget he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So that's another weapon for Mr. Goff in that offense. All right, who else we got? We got Gurley. How about same game? How about Alvin Kamara? What do you have? 13 carries last week. Did have a lot of yards, but do you really see another 13 carries? I see more than that this week. Maybe 20. Definitely out of the backfield. He's going to be a weapon. That Saints offense with Drew Brees. A lot of people say, well, it's Brees, it's Thomas, it's Kamara. Oh, don't forget you got Murray, Lamar Murray, as playing Mark Ingram's role from last year out of the backfield. He'll get 5-6 carries, 2, 3, 4 catches a game. Yeah, Kamara is a lock and cash. I believe that. Now, would you play Kamara over Zeke? Now I know Zeke didn't do much last week, but he's got a week under his belt. I think you could sit Pollard. He's not even going to be an afterthought. Zeke all day in that game. Yeah. I mean, it should be a more competitive game. That's why I would probably lean more to Kamara and cash over Zeke if it was a more competitive game. Latavius Murray, thank you. Something like that. No, we began with an L. If it was a more competitive game, I would definitely probably go with Zeke over Kamara. But I think with everything Kamara is going to be able to do today, running the ball, catching the ball, him and cash is going to be good. Problem with that is that's going to limit you, in your receivers if you're going that expensive. Zeke, Kamara, Henry. You know what? I have Henry in quite a few. And don't forget, don't sleep on Mac. Don't sleep on Marlon Mack. That guy is set this year to carry the load. And, Brissett is not he's not Andrew Luck. So they're going to be relying on Marlon Mack to carry a heavy load for that team. Same thing going for Carson in Seattle. They're relying on him to be the feature back out of the back there, too. Now, he gets a tough matchup today with Pittsburgh's defense. Now, I say that, and you're like, well, they got destroyed last week, but their running defense was really good against Sony Michel. So I don't really have a lot of Carson this week, but that could be a sneaky play if he breaks one or two. Derrick Henry's just a beast. Problem with him is I like to see a little bit more targets out of the backfield. He's really not, getting much as far as. I definitely like Mack more than Carson this week. KC puts up points on everyone. So, but I for this week I definitely like Mack more than Carson. I think Mack can do a lot more damage than Carson will against that Pittsburgh defense. Cowboys stack, definitely. Cowboys. Now, definitely Dak, Zeke. Chargers D worse than Pittsburgh. Chargers D, I would take Chargers defense now over Pittsburgh's defense only because Pittsburgh's secondary is trash. Chargers, they at least have a decent line. They'll be able to get to the quarterback. I trust the Chargers secondary more. The problem with the Chargers last week was both Chargers and Detroit did the same thing. They let their foot off the gas. They let those teams come back, and that's what happened. So they just got to keep their foot on the gas and not let up. Again, back to that Cowboys stack. Dak, Zeke, Cooper, Dak, Zeke, Gallup, Dak, Zeke, Cobb. I think Cobb is going to be a sneaky play this week. Don't rest on Cobb. He had a few targets, a few catches last week. And I think it's going to be one of those things. Sorry, that's just my phone going off. All you guys know that sound. Let me turn it up. But between Gallup and Cobb, I think they're going to take turns depending on matchups. And I like Cobb's matchup this week as the third guy. I like Cobb overall. I think he's a solid third wide receiver. And don't be surprised if old man Witten gets one of those typical over the middle 5-yard touchdowns. Oh, thank you. This was a Christmas gift from the wife. I'm a Bears fan at heart. I'm also an Eagles fan, so the hat actually. So, it's an Eagles hat too. So, but yeah, I think that Cowboys game is going to be over. I think that Cowboys game is going to be over kind of quick. I don't give Washington much of a chance. They looked good early against the Eagles, but I think that game, if you watch that game, it was more of the Eagles' game plan wasn't that great. And even in the third and fourth quarter, their game plan wasn't great. They were just getting the calls, the penalties for them. And the two plays to the Deshaun Jackson, those 2 long touchdowns, that was just bad coverage. But the way Dak looks, Dak Prescott, I hate to say it, he looks solid. He's going to have himself an All-Pro of the Year this year. What else, guys? How about Barkley, Saquon Barkley against Buffalo? It's going to be him. You're going to see a lot of him. You're going to see a lot of Evan Ingram. You want to throw Fowler in there. Those are your 3 targets to me for Washington. But Ingram had 14 targets, 11 catches last week. I have a lot of Ingram this week because he's going to be another target this week. I have quite a bit of Saquon this week as well. Again, he's going to be a target out of the backfield. He's going to get the ball a lot this week. I have no thinking that the Giants are going to win, but you're targeting guys who are going to be targeted, period. And that's a big word in DFS going forward is going to be targets. If you see a guy getting targeted quite frequently every week, that's a guy that's going to be on my list. You're going to have a guy like Amendola last week had got 8 targets, I think it was, 9 targets. If he gets that this week, I'll be surprised. But if he does get that this week, then he goes on the list. I just don't think that's going to happen. It was a game plan. It was the way the game plan was going. So I don't see that going forward. Let's see anything. Let's see anything on the news here. Nothing new that I'm seeing. Nope. I haven't seen anything new yet as far as injuries, but I think all the main injuries we've pretty much discussed. I think the biggest thing is the Antonio Brown. I mean, morally, I hate to play the guy, but he's got the possibility of breaking out and having a huge game early on. I think he's going to at least get one touchdown, if not two. I think you barely see Brady going to a certain guy. He goes to whoever's open. And I still have a lot of faith in Edelman. They showed a thing this morning, and the way the Patriots offense was working, the plays that were set up for Gronk last year are now being set up for Edelman. And basically Edelman is running Gronk's routes out of the wide receiver position. And if you remember, Gronk's routes were a lot of over the middle, out in the flat, and that's what Edelman's doing now. So watch for Edelman to have a decent year this year. Who's the biggest bust of the day? Oof. That can go one of two ways. It could go Todd Gurley, but I don't think it's going to be that. I think the biggest bust is going to be overall is going to be the people thinking the guys like Hollywood Brown, Deshaun Jackson, those guys having the same days they had last week, this week. But as for overall player, let me see here. To me, a bust would be one of these high-priced guys. Well, I mean, man, I really don't see any of the top guys really having bad days. Maybe because of game plan, maybe Michael Thomas doesn't have a big day. Aaron Rodgers, but he's not a lot of people are on him to have a big day. I don't know. I'd actually go with the top guy then, Saquon. He's got the biggest opportunity to have a bust of a day if Buffalo's defense kind of plays up to its potential. What's going on, T. Hendricks? Just fly Eagles fly. That's it, Dave. Just talking things up for 1 o'clock here. Just having a discussion. Any questions? Just ask the questions, and we'll talk about it. Saquon, if he has a bad game, would definitely be a bust. Lamar Jackson, after his last week, if Terrell Suggs decides to have a career game and get back at his old team, he could disrupt Lamar, which I don't see it happening, but anything is possible. All the hype. Actually, the biggest bust would be Tom Brady. It'd have to be Brady in the Patriots. Everything that happened last week to Miami, the whole lure of how bad Brady plays in Miami. I think he's got 22 career turnovers in Miami. So if Brady goes out and flubs a dub out there, and if New England doesn't win by 18 points, I think that would be a disappointment. I think a lot of people are high on that New England stack. That's got to be one of the highest owned stacks. Because I know I got them in a bunch. I had to actually temper myself back. Rams and New Orleans game script. How I think it's going to go, it's going to be Kamara and Gurley early. And then Kamara, Thomas, and passing for New Orleans in the second quarter. And you're probably going to see that Brown for the Rams in the second quarter running. You'll see Brown start in the third quarter, and midway through the third, you'll see Gurley, and then all of the fourth, you'll see Gurley, kind of like last week. And depends on really how it goes. The Saints defense is going to need to show up. That's going to be the game script. If the secondary shows up, because there's a lot of weapons there for the Rams, Goff has a lot of toys to play with. If the Saints secondary can show up, it'll be a tight game. But if those guys, and I'm looking at Kupp in the slot this week as having a huge game. If Kupp can get open and get free in that secondary, and that's going to open up things even more for guys like Cooks and for Woods, it could be an all-out air attack by Goff. He could put up, reasonably 300 yards, if not more. If it becomes a shootout in the fourth quarter, sky's the limit for both of these guys. But I think definitely Kamara early, Gurley early, and then air game late with the Rams shoving Gurley down the Saints' throat to end the game. I'm thinking the Rams are going to take this one. It's going to be close, and it's going to be a lot of points. So make sure you get some Rams and some Saints in your lineups. What else we got here, guys? Who do you guys think is going to be the bust of the day? That's actually a good question. Look at those top tier guys. Who do you think is going to be, from last week to this week? Well, thank you. Thank you, Hendricks. I try, man. This is my first live show. I've done a few review shows. Trying to see how this live thing goes out. But Hendricks, who do you think is going to be the bust of the week? Looking at all the guys in the top tier as far as, your Mahomes, your Jacksons, your Barkleys, your Hopkins, even Kelsey's and guys like that. Who do you think is going to have that game that you look tomorrow at your lineups to go, if that guy would have scored, done his normal, I would have done better. I hate that guy. I'm not playing him again type of guy. We all have those guys from week to week. I think a lot of us had that Kerryon Johnson last week. And all of us were disappointed the next day going, why did I play this guy? He's a Detroit running back. He's not Barry Sanders. I would have to say, like I said before, if Mahomes doesn't have a Mahomes day, that'd be a bust. If, Brady has a normal Brady day at Miami, that could be a bust, but I doubt that. This Miami team is so bad. But let's see. All right, let's look at some quarterbacks here. Mahomes, Watson, Jackson, Breeze. Those four guys I'm going to have in lineups for sure. The next guys, I'm looking at FanDuel's pricing, guys. The next guy's number 5 quarterback on the list is Aaron Rodgers. I have 0 Rodgers this week. Against that Minnesota defense, I don't see Rodgers having any kind of a decent game. He should have a better game than he had last week against Chicago. And if Juju throws up a duck, that could hurt. I know a lot of people are on him this week. He had a decent game last week. If you actually look inside the numbers, if it wasn't for Juju, he would have been really bad off. He had 8 targets, 6 catches, but the rest of the team was something like 39 targets and 21 catches. That's horrible. A lot of that's not on the receivers. A lot of that's on Ben, but those balls, anything close, you got to really be going after it. I haven't seen anything on Corey Davis. It's tough. It's really tough for. Let me see. For any wide receivers from that team. I mean, the reason is I don't trust Mariota. He hurries himself too much. I don't trust his receivers. Did he even? Wow, he got 3 targets last week. I don't know. If I'm taking a guy from Tennessee, it's going to be the one guy. It's going to be one guy all day, and that's going to be Walker, besides Henry. The only guy I trust catching the ball for that team is Walker. I see Walker having a huge year, possibly even leading the team in targets and catches. That's not too hard to fathom there. I just don't trust Corey Davis. I don't trust those guys. And I actually have a lot of Indianapolis defense this week. I think they're a little underrated. They made a lot of changes last year. And Derrick Henry scares me a little, but overall that defense is solid. So I wouldn't go near Corey Davis, but let's take a look. He's 5,700. And at 5,700, I mean at 5,900, you can go to D.D. Westbrook. At 5,700, again, and I know I said before I was taking all my Arizona guys out, but at 5,500 you can go to Fitzgerald, who last week saw 13 targets and 8 catches, 113 yards and a touchdown. I would rather go to Fitzgerald, even though it's going against Baltimore, and trust he's going to have a better day than Corey Davis. You've got Randall Cobb at 5,500, who saw 5 targets, 4 catches, 69 yards and a touchdown. Going down a little bit further, now if you want a guy who's going to play, you want that flyer, that contrarian, that guy who's maybe not a lot of people are on, at 5,400, Kiki Kuti is playing this week. Hey, anytime. That's what I try. I try to look at things. If you're on a certain guy, you got to look at where he is and his price point, and then look around him and say, well, I could spend $5,700 on Corey Davis, who got 3 targets and no catches last week. His quarterback is Mariota. Do you trust that combination? Or do you trust a rookie in Kyler Murray with a veteran like Fitzgerald? And you look at the combination last week, 13 targets, 8 catches. For 200 less, I would rather, even though it's against Baltimore's defense, but then their secondary is missing 2 starters, and a third starter is hurt. I would rather take my chances on that combination than go with Corey Davis. But that's me. That's my input on that. Mac or Henry? I answered this before. Definitely Mac this week. I just trust. I trust Indianapolis's offensive line more than I trust Tennessee's offensive scheme. Both teams are going to run. It's going to be a running game. Both guys are going to eat. Both guys are going to get their points. If you're asking me who's going to get more points, I would say Mac. Let's just look. Let's look a little bit more into that. So last week, Henry had 19 carries, 84 yards, a touchdown, 1 catch for 75 yards, and a touchdown. That's what troubles me about Henry. Also troubles me about Mac, too. Mac had no targets and no catches. But on 25 carries, he saw 174 yards. And that was against the Chargers defense. And I actually like the Chargers defense more than I like the Titans defense. Now, I still think Mac has a huge game this week. If Henry can get more than that one target, if he can get more than that one target, he's might be a better option, but their short yardage targets are all going to Walker. Towards Mac there. All right, guys, what else we got here? We got 24 minutes before kickoff, and I kicked myself off here to go watch the games. Sony Michel goes off today. Well, there's another one. That's a good question there, and that's another one to go over the game script with. If you look at what Miami did last week, they gave up 256 yards on the ground. That's just on the ground. So you got Sony Michel, you got White, and you got Burkhead. I brought up Burkhead for a reason. You're going to see Sony Michel running the ball in the first quarter, second quarter, maybe most of the third quarter, some of the third quarter. And you know White is going to get a touch here or two. And don't forget, Burkhead will get a touch here or two early, but not a whole lot. You're going to see White getting catches out of the backfield. He's a viable option out of the backfield catching the ball. You got to temper those expectations this week with him catching the ball out of the back because Brown being there. But they're going to feed the ball to Michel as much as he can take it. And then in the late third, fourth quarter, it's going to be the Burkhead show. They're going to be up, or they should be up, huge by that point. And you're not going to want Michel in there. You're not going to want White in there to get beaten up constantly. And you're going to give it to Burkhead. And he's going to kind of do the Gus Edwards spot like last week. If you look what... let me go to that. Where are they at? Gus Edwards last week had 17 carries for 56 yards. Most of that was in the late third, fourth quarter when they took Ingram out. So you can really think about Burkhead doing the same thing. Now, would I roster Burkhead? He could vulture a touchdown, but is that going to be enough? I would rather go Michel and White. I actually have a couple of stacks that have both guys in it. Brady, Michel, White, and Edelman is viable. Antonio Brown scares me early, but if they get up big, there's your first guy that's going to come out. He hasn't seen a lot of the offense. They say he's been there at 10 o'clock every night, but he hasn't been with the team. And that's something that kind of interests me today. He's got his own personal trainer, and it's a former wide receiver, Troy Brown. It's his personal trainer. So he practices with the team. Once he's done with the team practice, he goes off with Troy Brown until 10 o'clock every night, goes over the playbook, and goes over other routes and stuff. And we all know Troy Brown was one of Brady's favorite targets when he was there. It's against Miami. Is AB going to have a good game? 6 to 8 catches, I would say. 80 to 100 yards and a touchdown is viable for him. I don't know. Edelman eats up this Miami team every time he plays them. He's the slot guy. That's where the NFL is going to now, is that slot guy, kind of a Cooper Kupp, Edelman type of player. Deshaun Jackson, he gets a lot of his work out of the slot. So looking at those guys, definitely liking that New England stack today. And I tell you, you want to go to a bust. If that New England stack doesn't pay off, there's your bust of the day. If somehow Miami, hearing all this stuff they heard all week about how bad they are, how bad they played, and this and that, and they get up for the game, and New England gets 3 touchdowns and it's a 24-20 game, there's your bust. But I think it's going to be 24-0 in the first quarter. I don't think it's going to be even close. Patriots have too many weapons. And I'm waiting to see that. I don't know if they even play during the regular season. I haven't looked at the schedule, but if the Patriots and the Kansas City play, oh my God, that'll be a circus there. I hope that answers your question there, Hendricks. Anything else, guys? Let's take a look at some wide receivers. Let's take a look at the wide receivers for all the games here. I like Hopkins. I like Thomas. I'm not on Devontae Adams this week. I really like Juju this week. I like Amari Cooper even more. Yes, I said 3. Depending on the game plan. Last year when they played, Cooper and Dak just ate up Washington. And remember, Dak against Washington is 5-1 in his career, so I don't see that changing today. I don't see another loss in another notch in that loss column. And here's a good thing to talk about: Sammy Watkins. So, Kansas City lost their big weapon in Tyreek Hill. They still got Sammy Watkins sitting there. He's going to get his. The guy you guys got to really think about hard today is that Mecole Hardman. What's he going to do? They drafted Hardman to replace Tyreek Hill in case they had to get rid of him with all that legal trouble he had. I am definitely on Hardman today. I have him in a few lineups on each site. I think that kid can just pretty much do his best interpretation of Tyreek Hill. That's how quick he is. That's how good he is. And I think he's going to put up 100 yards today. I think he's going to get free. I think he's going to put up a score. I guess that would kind of be my surprise of the day. Will be Hardman going off. Anyone else there anyone else out there have a let's call it a contrarian play, a low-owned guy that they feel can go off, kind of like a Hardman, kind of like Pettis from San Francisco. Those San Francisco wide receivers were just not there last week. It was all Kittles. Now, can Garoppolo live on Kittles alone? I don't think so. He's going to have to find guys to get the ball to. Kittles, get him in your lineups. He's going to do his best to carry the load. But they're going to have to get Pettis or Goodwin involved more. Pettis is becoming a real bust for them. Coming into camp like he was last year, didn't really learn much in the offseason, didn't really do much to improve himself. They still love the guy. They're still giving him every chance they can, but I'm not high on him. Let's see. Cooper Kupp. I love Cooper Kupp this week. I actually like Stephon Diggs a lot this week, too. Diggs has touchdowns in, I forget what it was. I have my notes with me, but he just basically gets a touchdown every time he plays Green Bay. So if you're looking for touchdowns, I'd get a guy like Diggs in your lineup. Kenny Galladay, that could be a kind of a sleeper pick. You don't hear a lot of people on him this week against the Chargers. that could be a guy you could put in your lineups. John Ross and Tyler Boyd. Definitely liking Boyd this week more than I do Ross. Although, going back to his last 8 games without A.J. Green, Ross has 7 touchdowns. I'm still on Boyd more this week. I think Boyd sees more of the targets, more of the catches, more of the yards. And then you have the tight end duo there with Eifert and Uzuma. Not even touching that. I don't think they make any difference. Either who, there's not enough catches for both of them to really go off. Let's talk about the Oakland, the Raiders side of that Kansas City game. I like Josh Jacobs. He kind of showed last week why he was drafted where he was, why he's their number 1 back. He's going to carry the load for them every week. Can he repeat his performance from Monday night? Yes, I think he actually can. This Kansas City defense is not that great. They're all offense and not much defense. So Josh Jacobs could have a good game. Terrell Williams. Yeah, I have him in some lineups. I had Derek Carr in a couple lineups, but I've since taken him out. I'll just go with Jacobs, Williams, and the other guy I'm going to go with is Waller, their tight end. That kid's a beast. That kid's going to have a good year for a rookie. Gruden loves his physical, athletic tight ends, so I think that's a good choice there with him. Let's see. Let's go over to tight ends. Of course, you got the usual names at the top: Kelsey, Kittle. You got Evan Ingram, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite guys week to week with the lack of receivers in New York. He saw 14 targets last week, caught 11 of them for 116 yards and a touchdown. Is he going to get 14 targets this week for 11 catches? No, but he's going to be up there. The guy I'm kind of tempering expectations for is Hawkinson. Again, I think a lot of his success last week was game flow. 9 targets, 6 catches for 131 yards and a touchdown. Against the Chargers defense, I don't see that happening again. Delaney Walker, I love this guy. He's going to see a lot of those Tennessee targets. Vance McDonald, not on him. Darren Waller, we already talked about him. I love that guy. Going down, if you want to save a little money on tight end, you can always go to Jason Witten. He's not a huge part of that offense, but he still makes a difference. And, in the red zone, they're going to be looking at him. And again, if you really, really want to get different, you can go all the way down to 4,000 and throw a flyer on Virgil Green. I have him in one lineup, and that's a stack of Chargers. But I wouldn't really go there. To me, this week, it's more of the top few guys. Well, I don't see any more questions, guys. I think that's going to be it. It's about 10 minutes before kickoff, and I'm going to be kicking myself off of here to go watch the games. Enjoy yourselves, guys. Win, win, win. And don't forget, subscribe, like, and win that money. All right, guys. Good luck.